think builders underestimate how much mental load they carry, and homeowners just don't see, like you've touched on it already, all of the other stuff behind the scenes. They don't, they think that they're just meeting that client at the meetings, and the builder's going back and, putting figures together. They don't see the compliance, the insurances, all of the things that the builder are doing to support the client and maybe fight their corner in the background.
If we're just looking at the builder themselves, not having a clear purpose for their business is an absolutely huge one, because in the absence of the reason that they have their business and being really clear on what that is, builders are great people and they just want to help others, and they sacrifice their own time and their health mentally, physically and emotionally for their clients. And I don't think many clients realize that. And from the customer side, I think it comes from having unrealistic expectations and them thinking that they are the only customer that builder has.
Thinking about building or renovating? Or maybe you are already knee-deep in a project now. Are you feeling unsure of which steps to take and if you are making the right calls? You're not alone. Welcome to Builders Beyond Borders, the podcast where experienced Aussie builders share real stories, insider tips, and practical advice so you can build with confidence, avoid costly mistakes, and actually enjoy the journey. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Builders Beyond Borders podcast. And today we're talking about something that doesn't get spoken about enough in the building industry, and that's builder burnout. So when people hear the word burnout, they might think that that's only a builder problem. But the truth is, when a builder is overloaded, undercharging, chasing the wrong type of work, or trying to run everything from their head, it doesn't just affect the builder, it can affect the homeowner's experience. It can show up in communication, delays, unclear pricing, rushed decisions, stress on site, or that feeling that everyone is constantly reacting instead of following a clear process. So today we're going to unpack why good builders burn out, what's really happening behind the scenes, and how a more professional building business can create a better experience for the homeowners today. So you've got me, Louise, from Perway Construction Services here in Western Australia. And we're joined with the wonderful Dean and Shannon from DJH Builders in Tassie. And we have the GOAT, Mick Hawes from Builders Business Blackbelt down in Tassie. Welcome, Mick. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So, Mick, thanks a million for joining us. And we're looking forward to this conversation with you today. So, Mick, would you like to start by sharing something about, where your background, Builders Business Blackbelt, and as a builder's coach, and then I suppose what you're seeing happening behind the scenes in the industry that homeowners probably have no idea about.
Okay. Well, the story sort of started when I was selling life insurance, like living the dream, selling life insurance, and I met someone who you all know, Ian Seagale, got me into personal development. I learned that to learn it at a deeper level, you must teach it, which kind of moved me towards teaching. And I had a coaching business around time management, then personal development, and then small business coaching. I actually thought small business was a niche. Turns out it's not. And so eventually we niched into husband and wife run residential building businesses, which is Blackbelt. It's been running for about 13 years now, I think. We work really in the mindset space, not so much the systems and process space, because in my belief, everything starts with how you think and what you put into your mind and things like that. And it's pretty interesting, funny, really. Some of the times when if someone was to listen into some of our conversations, and the whole group's made up of builders, I don't think building is mentioned. It's just all about all of this other stuff.
Yeah. No, that's thank you for sharing that, Mick. But in your perspective though, what are you seeing behind the scenes in the industry? That builders are dealing with that homeowners potentially have no idea about, and
Oh,
it
wow.
coming down to like potentially, what are they carrying, like that burnout question. What do you see as a huge problem?
How long have you got?
I know. We've
It's
got an hour.
yeah.
We've 45 minutes.
Okay, well, I'll talk really fast. Um, like one of the fundamental things, and I saw a mate of mine, Andy Smith, on social media this morning talking about the big controversial question. I don't even think it's controversial. Should tradies, and he works with plumbers and electricians and so forth, but any trades-based business charge for the quoting process? And I'm an absolute huge advocate of charging for the quote, particularly for builders. And the reason is that I see it as a completely separate project. And what I've seen over the years of doing this is that the homeowner, the potential client, can really end up with a bad experience that starts with expecting a builder to do a free quote, because the builder, and I didn't realize this until I got into this niche, has so many areas that they need to take care of. That they need to be a psychologist, they need to be a cat herder, they need to be a scientist, they need to be an accountant. Um, what they need to take care of and the amount of compliance that they have to look after now is just incredible. And the other day I was just having a conversation with a lady, and she found out that I was sort of running a coaching business for builders, and she started talking about builders, and they were getting a renovation done and getting quotes and this, that, and the other. And I almost got into an argument with her because of how she was talking about, like, builders are absolutely creaming it. They're ripping people off. There's this necessity for housing, so they're just getting work hand over fist and charging like wounded bulls and all of that sort of stuff. And I just sort of had to say, let me stop you there and tell you a few stories. And when we started Black Belt, one of the things that was part of our program was a program by Mike McAllowitz, who we mentioned before we pressed the go button, and it's called Profit First. And what we began to do after some years of coaching builders, because we just found that they were all running into financial issues, and they had tax debts and all of this sort of stuff. And so we did a health check, a financial health check that was done by a certified accountant who understood the profit first principles. And out of all the builders that we did a financial health check with, not one of them was making a cent of profit. They were taking all of this risk, not seeing their families. The amount of hours that they would put in was unbelievable, and they were doing it for wages. And in fact, we used to do a thing called the I can't remember what it was called. You probably remember what it was called. It was hourly rate. The effective hourly rate is what it was called.
Yeah.
And where you just get all the money that you get paid from your building business, divide the number of hours that you work into it, and so you get this effective hourly rate, not the hour that you charge for on site, but the hour that you charge for running your whole business. And it was just frighteningly low. And I'm not even saying this to exaggerate for effect. Builders would have been better off flipping burgers at McDonald's financially.
Yeah.
And all of the builders that I know, and I know a lot of them, really genuinely care about their clients and the quality of their client experience. And they really do go the extra mile. And it pains me when I get into conversations with people who think that builders are creaming it and builders are making all the money. Like, swap places. Just swap places for a month and see how you go.
Mick, what advice, or how can a prospect or a homeowner, how do you think they could spot a builder who has a strong process? Because it's just about how can a prospect do due diligence to find a really good, reliable, trustworthy builder?
I'm laughing because I don't think it'd be that hard to spot. The bar is very low. And let me be clear, like, when we're doing the coaching, I'm talking to the builders and I insist that the builders take full responsibility for everything that is happening in their business. But much of the problems come from the perspective and the false assumptions that many of the people that are prospects and clients have. But from a prospect's point of view, if you're talking to a builder, it's very, very simple and clear to find out whether they have any sort of process at all. And it just starts from returning a phone call. How long does it take? Have a look at their website. Does it look like every other builder's website, and does it just talk about the builder and their business? Or does it mention their understanding of the concerns and priorities of the people that are their customers? When they turn up, it's very easy to see whether they have a process or not. If they're wandering around asking random questions, what have you, where's the process? But if they've got proper formed questions where they're gathering the appropriate information, they're asking you about the purpose of the project, they're asking you about your understanding of the timelines and what's involved, and they talk to you and help you to understand the importance of being transparent with budget. And some people don't even know what their budget is yet. They prematurely go and speak to a builder and they think, well, we'll just get this person to give us a price for this renovation extension, whatever it might be. And they have no idea how much effort, time, experience and knowledge goes into just giving them that price, where they go, oh, we actually can't afford that. It's like you need to get your budget together first. If the builder can explain to you the importance of the budget, that would indicate that they have systems. It really comes down to the type of questions that they're asking, and it hasn't got some sort of formula or format, but it's like, I think that's down the track. To me, the very first indication is how quickly they respond, how quickly they return the call. If you make a time to catch up with them or have another call again, and you can see that builders are normal people that have kids come and talk to them in the middle of a podcast. They're trying to run a business. They're trying to pull a family together.
This is what burnout is.
Yeah.
This is a prime example. I've got all the things in place, the nanny and everything, and it's still
leave all that in.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, apologies, everybody. Disclaimer: the 4-year-olds in the high seat might interrupt us.
We've got our grandson here, but we've locked him in a soundproof room.
Okay. Oh.
I think I answered the question, but maybe not.
I mean, in those early conversations, because we've talked so much about how people don't trust builders, and it's a good thing to have a couple of points for people to go, oh, okay, I can look to see if I ring them and they ring me back. That's just a really good sign, because a lot of people just have their cards close to their chest, as we know, and they're going to hold it off for weeks into the conversations. And that's where the psychologist element comes in, of, I guess, speaking to our prospects and letting them know that things are a little bit different the way that we do it. So it's important to look for that in a builder, I guess.
I think most good builders, smart builders, understand that there's low levels of trust between the builder and the prospect in the beginning, and have methods and systems and the ability to communicate in a way that proves to the prospect that this builder is a little bit different, understands that the standard garden variety way that builders have operated in the past has caused this distrust, because things have changed so much. I remember filming one of our black belt members many years ago. He was talking about free quotes, like he was just sort of talking to camera, and he and he sort of said, I'd like to find the builder who came up with this idea of doing free quotes, and I'd like to rip him and but the funny thing was that he was sort of saying that, but then he stopped partway through his rant and he said, "Oh, but I suppose I can understand it because my dad was a builder," he said. And in his career, he built about 70 homes or something like that. And he said back then they were kind of all used the same brick, the same hardwood frames, the same tile or tin, and there was no council requirements like there is today, and there were no soil tests and bushfire rating and you literally could go, "How big is it, mate?"
Mm.
And on the back of an envelope you could give them a quote based on a square meter rate because the timber, the brick, everything, the labor, everything was the same. And it was so consistent, you could do that. Nowadays, how many different types of fixtures and fittings are there? Different types of methods to build something. How do we know what sort of compliance we've got to satisfy? And insurances and it's just a minefield. And a good builder understands all of that, has systems for all of that, and is actually positioning themselves to be your trusted advisor. Because I find that, and it's understandable that the prospect, the customer, is keeping their cards close to their chest, like you said, because there is that little trust. They want to try and extract as much information from the builder as they can so they can control the process and make the decisions. And it is about the worst way to do it because they will never, ever know everything that a builder knows about the construction and everything that happens behind the scenes. So the ideal situation is to find a builder, ask them as many questions as you need to so you feel that you can trust them, and then open up to them and say, "This is my budget." So put some work and effort in to understand what you can afford. And then you can talk about the scope of the project. And from the builder's experience, they can let you know whether you will be able to even build what you want for the budget that you've got. And folks, please don't get upset with the builder because you've come up with a price in your mind, or your building designer or your architect somehow planted a price in your mind that you should be able to get it done for. And then the builder comes along and prices it, and it's 20, 30, 40, 50% more than you expected. It happens all the time. And statistically, almost 80% of designs that are created by building designers and architects never get built. And the client pays the architect for those designs.
Mm.
So the architect loses because it never gets built. The client loses because they've paid $10, $15, $40,000 for designs that doesn't get built. Get your builder involved in the very, very early days and build a relationship with them, a trusting relationship with them, and say, "This is our budget. This is what we want," and work together as a team to get a scope, a design that will work within your budget. And I guarantee if you do that, you will have the happiest, most joyful building experience possible.
Yeah, you're right there, Mick. And another point on that as well, like that, it's also important to know that not every builder is right for every client,
No.
and every client is right for every builder. There's comes down to personality or whatever else in the process that doesn't align, and that's something that needs to be talked about more openly as well.
Mm.
How important do you think it is for builders to know who they are best suited with, and from a homeowner's point of view as well, like what signs should they look for to know that they're aligned with that builder's values and process as well?
Yeah. Well, I think they'll know that through conversation and just sort of the inherent feeling that you get with it. But from the builder's perspective, it makes sense. It's good business for a builder to be very, very clear as to what type of person they enjoy working with, that they are comfortable working with. And what I mean by that is, like, as a coach, I'm really comfortable working with adults. And from time to time, I've been put in positions where, like when I was working with Tennis Australia or whatever, I had to work with kids like 7-year-olds, 14-year-olds. And I just feel like an absolute fish out of water. It's like, what am I going to do here? Uh, and so some builders are going to be really good at working with the first home buyer. Some builders are going to be really good at working with a developer. Some builders are going to be really great working with someone who's building their forever home, you know. And I think it's important that the builder understands who they are best suited to, and have processes. And we in Blackbelt we call it a quality. What do we call it?
Quality client pathway.
That's the one. Quality client pathway.
Here.
Um, and the whole idea of it is it is designed to give the ideal person this frictionless experience, and show or put a red flag up if the person isn't really quite the right fit. And I think it's a smart builder who can, well, not only have those systems and understanding, but be brave enough to say to a client, I don't think I'm the right type of builder for you. You know, perhaps I could put you under so and so or such and such. A good builder will do that.
Yeah,
because they don't want to. It's going to be a lose-lose situation. They want a win-win.
Yeah, you said before about in terms of homeowners, like doing their research and having a look at their website and bits and pieces. We've spoken about it before, where we specifically find a niche, and you still see builders driving around saying specialising in all areas.
Yeah.
That's something to be wary of as well. How are you supposed to specialise in absolutely everything? I can't be say I specialise in bathrooms and renovations and also specialise in skyscrapers. So, yeah, I think the homeowners research is also going to help them out.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes me laugh. When I used to get my car serviced, was a mechanic out the back of another mechanic shop, and and out the front he says, "We specialise," and you couldn't go slow enough to read all of the different types of cars that this guy specialised in as you were driving in, and it always made me laugh, you know.
Einstein of the car world.
I think they need to Google what specialise means.
I think as well, when you were speaking about, finding for clients doing their research and, making sure that they are the right fit. And I loved, I always remember one time you said to us, if you were the builder, would you invite your client over for dinner? And it was it's always been a key thing that we've held in our business as well. When a prospect comes through the door, that, Andy's usually the person that's speaking with them first, and it's sort of like, well, would you invite that person over for dinner? And if it's a yes, it's great, because then that's a person that you are happy to have to be surrounded by, because it's such a long experience that you want to be comfortable with that person, and for the homeowner on the flip side, to want to have the builder over for dinner in their house as well, that you're creating that really good relationship. And it just makes, not every job is a frictionless experience, but at least if you've got someone there that that is on your side and can help you with whatever whenever the things happen, and the chips are down, that you've got someone that's got your back and can help you there. So it's it's always a good little tester to think about for homeowners as well. Would you have the builder over for dinner?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's the best advice that anyone's given on this podcast so far. that if you just think about that, and do I have this connection with this person that I would invite them over to dinner? That relationship is a good starting point, because most building projects are going to be of months, sometimes years long, and you're spending a lot of time with them. There has to be high levels of trust, and just whether you like them or not, it's a good place to start. And then the other thing that came to mind when you were talking about that is, I encourage you guys to use what we call the tip of the iceberg theory when you see a small issue. Address it immediately, and because the tip of the iceberg theory is that that's probably just this little problem that's at the surface, but if it's not addressed, it could be this big problem that's under the surface. And I would encourage the client to do the same with the builder as well. Like, be honest with the builder, and if there's something that you don't like or perhaps isn't in line with what you expected, put it on the table straight away. But be open and try to understand what's going on. Like, I'm not sort of encouraging the client to have carte blanche, just complain all the time. That's not what I'm saying. But if you've got a good builder, they're actually open to feedback, and good builders want their clients to have a great experience. And if they're not having a great experience behind the scenes and keeping it to themselves, they want to know about it. Let's fix it. So, good advice, Lois.
You're welcome. So Mick, you've talked about, the builders that do, that have done the free quoting or haven't chosen the right client from the get-go. And, I suppose the starting topic of this conversation was about builder burnout. And that's, again, when the builder is maybe overloaded, undercharging, doing the free quotes, chasing the wrong type of work, etc. Is there anything else that you can see, as a builder's coach, what else may lead to that burnout? Like, I think builders underestimate how much mental load they carry, and homeowners just don't see, like you've touched on it already, all of the other stuff behind the scenes. They don't, they think that they're just meeting that client at the meetings, and the builder's going back and, putting figures together. They don't see the compliance, the insurances, all of the things that the builder are doing to support the client and maybe fight their corner in the background. But apart from that, is there, builders underestimate the mental load that they're carrying. Is there anything else that you can add to that to help homeowners be aware of what they can do to support builders? So I suppose there's two parts of that question there.
Well, I mean, the first part, if we're just looking at the builder themselves, not having a clear purpose for their business is an absolutely huge one, because in the absence of the reason that they have their business and being really clear on what that is, builders are great people and they just want to help others, and they sacrifice their own time and their health mentally, physically, and emotionally for their clients. And I don't think many clients realize that. Like, they put so much effort in because they give us stuff to the builder's detriment a lot of the time. And so one of the things that we're working on all the time with black belt builders is teaching them processes to set themselves up mentally, emotionally, and physically the best possible way for the day, so they can survive, make good decisions, make it till the end of the day, and then do it all again. Their ability to plan, their ability to genuinely know what's important and behave that way, because most people will burn out and feel significant stress if they are being put under a feeling of urgency all day. Now this person wants to, and now there's this problem, and there's this sense of being out of control and urgency all day. It just strips the energy away from you. And then, as a rule, many builders will they'll get home, probably inhale some dinner with the family, and then they're in the office doing paperwork or quoting or something else till whatever time, which isn't great preparation for quality sleep, so they don't get quality sleep, and then it all just starts again. And all of this comes from their perspective, not being organised, focused, and understanding what the purpose of their business is. And from the customer side, I think it comes from having unrealistic expectations and them thinking that they are the only customer that builder has.
Mm.
And it's the only part of their life. Like, they don't have a family, they don't need to look after their health, they don't need sleep, any of that. And it's, I think there needs to be a lot more understanding. And having said all of that, I put all of the responsibility back on the builders, because they're the only people I can talk to and help influence.
I think as well, when, as we've been speaking as well, that then that's important for when builders then put boundaries in place and set expectations, that it's not them, sometimes it's not the builder being rude or, not helping to accommodate the client. It's actually help the client have that better experience, because there is so many moving parts behind the scenes for builders. Like, if there's no boundaries in place, then that's when you get like your slow replies, your unclear updates, your missed details, surprises, the builder's unavailable. So, for the builder to avoid that, burnout, there is expectations in place that they will only, speak with you between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday. There's not the working in the evenings just to accommodate one client, because there's so many moving parts to the builder's life and business, and they want to show up the best way possible for that homeowner and for them to have that building experience. So I think it's important then to be clear and, for builders to have boundaries, but for that homeowner to understand why there are those boundaries in place. And it's, to have those expectations that, okay, well, if they want to show up the best way possible for me, for my project, then I want the builder to have those boundaries in place,
Yeah. And I think it can be even more refined than that. Like, I don't think it's even a good idea to say, you can call me between 9 and 5 on weekdays. I think a good builder has really good processes in place where they're constantly giving updates, over communicating and communicating effectively, so the person feels like they're up to date, they're on the ball.
Yeah.
And I got off a session earlier today with a couple of black belt members, and we're doing this program where we're improving every single touch point in their business. I had this spreadsheet, and I just captured all of the touch points. It's all of every little interaction a prospect or a customer could have with the building business, right from the very first contact right through handover and beyond. And at the end of it, these people that were on the call, because a lot of the team members were on the call who were working on how to improve the experience for the client. That's what it was all about. They just sort of sat there with their jaw dropped going, I just had no concept of how many touch points there are in a building project. And that's for one client. What if you've got multiple clients? But a lot of it, my point was, a lot of it was making sure that the client is aware of what's going on, giving them very regular progress updates about the project. We were even talking about having text. So if there's a site visit or a meeting about to come, there's reminder emails, there's reminder text, there's another text that says, Dean is 14 minutes away. He's on the way. He's 14 minutes away. I had that experience just the other day with some people who were detailing the boat, and dealing with these type of trades has always been a frustration. And that one little text, like they are notoriously unreliable and never turn up when they say they. I don't know whether that sounds familiar or not.
No, not to us. No.
No. But you pull the boat out of the water and you've only got the shed booked for a certain amount of time, and it's got to be, get it done. And you're always hassling, and it's like herding cats. And then these guys, I get this, Ben will be there in 14 minutes. And it's like, really? That's incredible. I just felt this euphoria.
Hallelujah.
And they put the boat in the shed, and the guys who were putting the boat in the shed, driving the travel lift and what have you, after it was in the shed, they said, that was like an F1 pit stop. Like, it came out of the water, and there were people just doing stuff everywhere, and they said they've never seen that before. And so, like, it just doesn't take much.
Yeah.
And I think the client should expect it. I think part of the problem is that clients put up with poor organisation, poor communication, and they just accept it that's how builders are. And
Mm.
that's how many builders are, but not all builders.
No.
Mm.
We had that on our inquiry forms, like, have you done any building or renovating in the past?
Mm.
How did you find this experience? Is there anything you want to discuss with it? And probably 80% of them go, "Oh, yeah, we had this done and it was a shit show," or, they were late, or we had problems with the sub trades, and
Yeah.
it's something that is more common than people realise. That there is this anxiety when they go to contact a builder that they're going to go, "Oh, I'm going to be walked all over," or have a bad experience. So
There's also those touch points, like making processes out of those touch points. So thinking about variations where we were completely overrun with variations on one of the bigger projects that we'd gone into, but learning lessons each time we finish a job, going, how can we make that easier for the client and for us? Like, there has to be a, a tighter process, or I just saw another one that we did, that we created a process behind it. So the client feels, as soon as they ask a question, there's an answer, but it's a bit like a guided answer. So we have this is the link here. If you get this filled out, then we're going to be straight onto it for you. And then it just makes it a lot easier, as opposed to, and centralizing all the contact once we start a job.
Mm.
Right, we all message in here, because that's where we are and that's where the site supervisor is, and everyone's going to see it. And that just eliminates so many problems. So
Yep.
just identifying each touch point and going, how can we refine it?
Yeah. And good builders, I think, look at those problems and go, how can I systemize it? But a good builder will go, how can I systemize it so it creates a more positive experience from the client's point of view? And so going right back to that first question that we're asked, how do you tell?
Mm.
You'll be able to tell by those sorts of things that they have systems in place that resonate with you. You feel comfortable with it. It's almost like they've built their systems and processes to completely suit you.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's a sign of a good builder. And you need to understand that from a customer's point of view, that for a builder to be able to build their business in that manner with those systems and processes that make it a frictionless, beautiful, happy experience for you, takes time and money and effort.
Yeah.
And so that needs to be paid for somehow. And therefore, when you go, but Billy Bumcrack over here that's working out of the back of his ute with no other, with one apprentice or whatever it is, he's quite a bit cheaper than you.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, of course he is.
Mm.
What sort of experience do you want? I saw I think it was an American contractor on social media just yesterday, I think, and he's saying, when the customer says to you, I've had another quote from my mate down the road, and if you can get it to his price, I'll go with you. The contractor said, what you should say is, well, let's just assume that the prices are exactly the same. Who would you prefer to do the job? And the customer often says, well, you. Why is that? How are we different? And let them tell you all of the reasons why they want you to do the job. And through that process, the customer starts to realize themselves that they're not comparing apples with apples.
Mm.
And it can be a horrible experience if you are working with an unorganized, unprofessional builder who's good at the building bit of it, but really bad at communications and organization. I've experienced it myself. Friends of mine have experienced it. it's a horrible, horrible experience, and no wonder people are guarded when they reach out to builders. And folks, all builders aren't like that, and we're doing our very best to turn that around and create a new normal, a new level of what should be expected with professionalism with a builder. Along with that comes professional pricing as well, because even the dude who comes out to look at your dishwasher is going to charge $175 for the privilege. So things have come a long way. Things are going in the right direction, but it's a team sport. Building's a team sport. So if you can be more understanding of the builder, ask questions, be open, you still get to choose who the builder is. Like, the builder has no control over whether, you give them the job or not. So it's your choice. So ask questions, but be open and be understanding that if you want all this, it has to have been built and planned and trialed and fixed and refined and paid for you to have this effortless, frictionless experience.
Agree. Yeah. No, good chat. I think it was. I hope that any of the homeowners listening in today, they know that the green flags to look out for, the red flags to look out for, and it's just being educating themselves and being aware of those items that that what they need to be looking for. And again, just touching on are they comparing apples with apples? What experience do they suspect that they'll get with one versus the other before they, sign on the dotted line? And, that'll definitely be room for a better experience, and having those process builders that have processes in place and have a system that's there. They're the builders that aren't going to burn out as much as the other builders. And those are the builders that have the better communication, the better team, the better people that are going to show up for you, and will lead to that better customer journey.
Definitely.
Anything else, Shannon or Dean, that you'd like to chat to Mick or ask him before we finish up on the potty? Or anything else, Mick, that you would think is relevant to share for any of the homeowners listening?
Oh, well, not so much the homeowner, but the comment that you just made. And I guess from the homeowner's perspective, this understanding that everything you said was right. Builders should have all of that sort of stuff, but I wouldn't like to have builders listening to that going, I need all of that stuff yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, it's an evolution. It's you're learning, you're improving one bit of a process. Like, even when you get different software platforms and what have you to make your communications and management more efficient, you have to learn how they work.
Yeah.
There's so much in it. There's an investment, there's a financial, there's a time investment, there's an emotional investment. If you're not too tech savvy, it's like,
Time
looking over broken glass. But I think the main message from my perspective is building can be and should be a really enjoyable experience. Like, it is at one level in the beginning where you're dreaming and plotting and scheming of what it would look like and how different it's going to be and how wonderful it is. And then you get into the weeds with it, and that's when it starts to become not enjoyable. But even that can be enjoyable if the builder has systems and processes and is professional, and the client understands that this is a team event and they need to play their part.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can work together, be open and honest with each other with your expectations, and not expect the builder to do everything for free, because that places just another layer of unnecessary stress on them, and they can't anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But the only way one builder can do it any cheaper than another builder is that they don't have the systems and processes to give you the frictionless experience. They can use inferior materials, they can use inferior practices, and they can take shortcuts. And the shortcuts are generally somewhere under the floor, above the ceiling, in the walls, all sorts of places that you can't see them.
Mm.
And I'll never forget walking into a home a couple of years ago, a friend of mine was looking to buy a home near where we were, and he was in an interstate, and he said, "Can you go and look at this for me?" And I went and had a look at it, and it was a flash-looking joint from the outside. It was even flash-looking inside, but I said, "Oh," there was a big crack in the polished concrete floor in the kitchen. You look along the hallways and, it's a little wobbly. I mean, nothing that can't be fixed. And the paint looks a bit thin. It could do with the paint. It's a bit see-through. But I said, for probably a 10 or 12-year-old place, it's looking pretty good. And he said, "It's not even a year old."
Oh,
And that's the difference. So you
Yeah.
can get Builder A, who can give you this really nice looking finished product, and Builder B that gives you an identical looking product. But 9, 12, 18 months down the track, this one, the doors don't open properly. It cracks, it creaks, it moves. You can see through the paint. The house that we sold before we moved into here, just the paint. It was 14 years old when we moved in, and it looked like it was painted yesterday.
Good quality.
There's just a ton of difference,
Yeah.
And I think if the clients can understand that, and they can communicate what's the priority? Is it timeline? Is it quality? Is it all of the scope? What's the priority? Because at the end of the day, we can't have it all, right? That old triangle of you can have it cheap, you can have it fast, and you can have it high quality.
Mm.
You can only choose two. Which is it?
No, that's really that's great, Mick. Great advice to finish off with. But yeah, thank you for joining us on the call today on our podcast, and thanks Dean and Shannon as well. And yeah, we look forward to having you back on again someday.
Anytime.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to Builders Beyond Borders. If today's episode helped you feel more prepared, clearer, or more confident, share it with a mate who's planning their own build or reno. Got a question about building, renovating, or working with tradies? Send it our way. We might cover it in a future episode. And don't forget to hit follow or subscribe so you never miss the real stories, practical tips, and builder insights we've got coming your way. Everything shared on this podcast is based on our experiences and those of our guests. It's general info only. Any reliance on the information provided is done at your own risk.